Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Keep Austin Safe, the podcast where we dive into real-life safety issues facing our community and what we can do about them. I'm your host, Jose Mendez, and today we're talking about a crime that's fast, opportunistic, and more common than you think: auto theft. Here in Austin, Texas, we're seeing a rise in vehicle thefts in broad daylight from gas stations, convenience stores, and even your own driveway. And in a shocking number of these cases, the keys were left inside, or the engine was still running and the vehicle was left unattended. These aren't sophisticated heists. These are crimes of opportunity, and today we're going to help our listeners understand exactly how and why this happens and what you can do to prevent it. Joining me today is Detective Anthony Porter and Detective Rolando Espinosa from the Austin Police Department's Auto Theft Interdiction Unit. Detectives, thanks for being here today.
Okay, glad to be here.
Now, Detective Porter has been with the Austin Police Department for 12 years, and Detective Espinosa has been with the department for 16 years. So a lot of years in this room, and I'm sure we have some pretty good information to get into. So let's start with the big picture here. Can you give our community a sense of what the numbers have looked like in recent years? Has there been an increase in auto theft over the years?
Yes, there has been a big spike in 2023 with about 6,200 vehicles being stolen. And the big reason for that is due to a social media challenge, predominantly for Hyundai and Kias. The social media is being put out there that there's a specific way they can actually steal the vehicle, which makes it very vulnerable if you have a certain Hyundai and Kia model. Recent years, or within the past 2 years, we actually seen a decrease in auto thefts.
Yeah, some of that I think it's because of the Hyundai and Kia's recalls, updating some of their software. APD's auto theft outreach program that we've had reaching out to the community about how to prevent auto thefts, and also APD handing out wheel locks.
Okay. So I'm still trying to wrap my mind around 6,200 auto thefts in 2023, right? Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So you had mentioned a social media challenge, right? Can you go into a little more depth about what kind of social media challenge and what was taking place at this time? Because 6,200 is ridiculous.
Definitely. It is a lot. That's quite a bit. But so on social media, what they were putting out, these predominantly juveniles were putting out how to steal a car by using certain cords that you can commonly use to charge your phone, and in doing so, you're able to start the vehicle without a key. And
okay, yeah, okay. And then going back to Kia and Hyundai, I know we had a news conference at one point, but has Kia and Hyundai done anything specifically to kind of prevent these easy auto thefts for their cars?
Yes. So back last year, I believe it was, Hyundai had a event where it was a multi-day clinic which provided motorists from Austin and the surrounding areas who own or lease certain Hyundai makes and models with the latest free anti-theft software to include wheel locks.
Okay, so you had mentioned a decrease in auto thefts recently. Do you think a lot of that has contributed to that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and then one of the things we can find at one of your substations is, or by just contacting the auto theft unit, is the locks for your steering wheels. We give those out for free.
Oh, okay. And where can they go get those locks?
You can give we have the north substation. You can go south substation downtown. We'll have them, or just contact our auto theft unit, and we'll, we can reach out to you about getting you one.
Okay.
For free.
Okay, great. So what makes this crime so appealing to some of these criminals or the people that are doing these things?
So what makes it appealing is the fact that it's more for joyriding than anything. It's just a kind of way of showing that, hey, I did it, just to show off to their friends. And sometimes, depending on if they want to commit other crimes, such as ATM thefts, robberies, and also homicides, we see that as well. So it all depends.
Okay. Anything you like to add, Detective?
No. like what Detective Porter said, is like some of these vehicles, it's just he's just smashing the window, or someone just leaving their vehicle unlocked, or leaving their keys in there. It's just a crime of opportunity. Just, if a juvenile sees the keys in there, they're, it's going to give them an opportunity to take the vehicle.
Okay. So, do people still hotwire cars, or is it, or am I too old school to to understand that no longer exists?
No, it doesn't no longer exist.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you think is like the main contributor as far as is it people just leaving keys in the car, or the car's unlocked, or are people just becoming too complacent with this so-called, like, hey, I live in a good neighborhood, it's not going to happen to me?
Yeah, depending on the summer, people like to leave them on. They leave, they run inside the gas station. They're going to leave it turned on, the AC running. Think, hey, I'm just going to run in for a minute and grab, a soda. Not thinking that someone's just walking by going to see that. The winter, we see that a lot. Someone goes out to start their vehicle, leaves it running to keep warming up, and next thing you know, they come out and it's gone.
And another appealing to criminals is the fact that there's also personal belongings to include IDs, keys to your house, you name it, passwords to all your bank accounts. So it's pretty much a gift if you leave your key in your car unattended, let it run. There's so much things that can go wrong if you just leave it unattended.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because when we talk about valuables, right, if let's say items of identification, or even things that belong inside your house or should be inside your house, right? Yeah. So we all get complacent, right? My biggest thing, up until I became a police officer or in law enforcement, that garage door opener that we keep in our visor.
Right.
I've always thought, like, okay, if somebody breaks into my car, now they have access to my home. Yeah. And I know I've been guilty at times. I've become complacent, and I still do that thing from time to time. But what kind of advice would you give those people that are still keeping those garage door openers in their visor?
Just don't do it.
Yeah,
it's simple. Just don't do it, because it's just the easy access. It's the gift, and you don't want that type of attention brought to your house, because once they do it once, they know where you live. They're going to continue doing it. So,
have you seen any cases of that recently, where maybe a garage door opener was involved in, like, let's say a home burglary or something?
Yeah. So last week, specifically, we had a woman who got her home burglarized, and they were able to find the extra set of keys, come back for that vehicle later on. Well, she believed that she left the spare keys inside her home, or vice versa, where they'll break into the vehicle, find an extra key for the house, and then maybe go back and break into it. Being in Texas, a lot of people have guns. People love to for some reason, leave their guns inside their vehicles, and those guns could possibly end up in the hand of someone else.
Yeah, most certainly. Yeah. So I think the biggest thing to just take away from that small conversation would be to remove your garage door opener from your car and don't leave your guns in your car.
Right.
Correct?
Yeah. Correct. Yeah, we don't realize that, our insurance cards have our name on them.
Yeah.
There's stuff that's in our inside the inner console. Yeah. With, maybe your children's name on your Social Security is, so it's important that you get all your personal documents out of there.
Yeah. So let's talk about like the financial strain on somebody who has their vehicle stolen. What kind of strain does that put on somebody?
So that's a big one, because a lot of the time people don't have full coverage, so they're out of pocket on that vehicle. Number two, another financial hit is the deductible. Because either you have a high deductible, you have to come out of pocket, and then you don't have a car to get to work. So how am I going to be able to pay for this deductible? So there's a lot of little things here and there that contributes to having your car stolen, and also you're talking about, don't forget about the emotional strain it has on you. That's huge, because people feel violated after an incident like this happens, because you're never going to look at your property the same, because you know that you had someone else in your car that didn't have permission to use it or take it.
Yeah. So. And you know what, I can only imagine the stress it causes if, let's say, you're your home is a one vehicle home, right? So you have two people that are working, and all of a sudden now your vehicle has been stolen, and now you're down to nothing. So I can understand the strain that puts on some families. Okay, so just out of curiosity, where's the furthest you've seen a vehicle recovered that was stolen from Austin, like out of state or another city in Texas? Do you have any cases that you're working on that, wow, this car was all the way out here?
Yeah, so we've had vehicles that were recovered out of state. Houston, San Antonio, common area as well, where a lot of our vehicles are located at.
Okay. And I imagine some of those vehicles are being involved in other violent offenses. And I'm sure you've seen cases regularly that, a simple auto theft here turns into a murder in another city or state. Am I correct?
Yeah, absolutely. We recently had a couple of murder cases here in Austin were involved in auto theft. Robbery isn't common. Home burglaries, human smuggling is another one.
Okay. So switching gears just a little bit. When I worked patrol, one of the common justifications for leaving your car running would be like, hey, it's too hot. I have my dog in here. I just ran in for a minute. And I've even seen cases where an infant is in the back seat and the parent ran out to the gas station real quick. But again, the infant's in the back seat. I couldn't turn it off because it's hot. What exactly would you say to those people?
That's all it takes is a minute. I mean, It just, you think it's, hey, I'm going to just run inside to get a water or soda or whatever it is, and hey, I'm going to be right back, and that's all it takes. I mean, someone's walking by, they see that the door's unlocked, and that's all it takes. And of course, if you have a child in there, it's going to be super important.
It's important because, yes, we live in Texas. We already understand that it's hot. We get that part. However, you got to think about the consequences behind that. So, for example, if you leave your dog in the car and it's like 100 degrees outside, more than likely that inside of that car is going to be double that amount or close to it.
Yeah.
So you have to think about that, and then the consequences, you can actually get charged for those type of crimes as well. So yes, you're trying to beat the heat by keeping your car running, but you're looking at a double-edged sword, the possibility of getting fined or criminally charged, or your car getting stolen.
Good. So let's get practical here. What steps can people take to not be a victim of auto theft?
Lock your vehicles, take your cars with you, roll the windows up. So
yeah, definitely take your keys with you, shut it off. That's simple.
Okay. Well, so some people might say, well, yeah, I locked my doors, I rolled up my windows, but they broke out my window and still have my car. What would you say to those people?
That's good.
One of the common questions, one of the things that I ask, of course, is, whenever I take an auto theft case is, did you have cameras? Some say yes, some say no, which will help in the investigation, but it's definitely hard to prevent that from happening.
So just to piggyback more off of that, just be vigilant for one, because your car could be an attractive target. So in any way you can minimize your vehicle becoming a target, that's one way to do it, by visible deterrents like steering wheel locks, as well as trusting your instincts. If you see other people walking around that's not in your vicinity, that you're not used to seeing, call 911. Let us know about that, because that can always lead to something else. So yeah. So if I'm somebody that locks my doors, I don't keep the keys in the car, I roll up my windows, would that steering wheel lock be good enough for somebody just to be like, hey, I'm going to pass this car, I'll try my luck somewhere else? Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. So would you say that's more of just a deterrent by a criminal looking inside of a vehicle and saying, maybe not this one, I'll try my luck with that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So auto theft in general, I know this is this deals with individuals, but would it make sense to kind of be aware as a community to maybe help each other out, like neighbors? Because again, I feel like this is more on the individual and what they're customary to, whether they lock their doors or not. But let's say if I'm a neighbor and I know my neighbor does those things, what would you recommend?
I would recommend just talking with one another. Awareness spreads safety. Simple as that. The more you talk about it, the more people are aware about it in your community, the safer y'all can all be together.
Okay. And let's say I pull into a gas station and I'm watching somebody get out of their car, the vehicle's still running. Let's say there's a dog inside. Do I do anything about that right now? Or do I just mind my business, or do I take more of a proactive approach and try to inform that person, like, hey, maybe not do that, but nowadays you never know, like, will that person take offense to it, or now is it going to be a fight, or like, what kind of advice would you give?
That's a good one. I guess each situation is different. I personally probably would recommend just calling 911 and let us educate the general public on that in the event that you do witness those types of incidents, because you don't want to get into something where it leads into a fight or altercation. You don't want to jeopardize your safety just because you're trying to educate somebody else. You don't know how they're going to perceive it. So yeah, just let us handle that one.
But if you do approach them, I mean, it's okay to be polite, saying, hey, you left your vehicle on, your doors are unlocked. If you decide to do that.
Yeah, I mean, that makes complete sense, right?
Yeah.
If we're trying to look out for one another and trying to make some corrections that kind of deter these criminals from committing these auto thefts, why wouldn't you take that advice?
Absolutely.
So I completely agree with you. Now, what's the one takeaway from this podcast that you want our listeners to remember and just understand?
All right, so there's three takeaways.
Okay.
So I would say take your keys, turn off your cars, and lock your doors. It's that simple.
Okay. I mean, that seems easy enough, right? But again, I go back to 2023 and I'm thinking 6,200 auto thefts, and I can't wrap my mind around that. So again, it seems easy, and if the majority of our community can do that, I really think that we can benefit that, and we can stop these criminals from taking our vehicles.
Right. Absolutely.
So I'll put you on the spot here. I guess what is the hardest part about your job or the position that you're in right now?
So the hardest part in our position as auto theft detectives is how many cases we get per year and the amount of detectives that are working these cases. We just don't have enough detectives and officers to do these things. And the beauty thing about being a detective in an auto theft is when we do work these cases and solve these cases and get the car back to the victim, it's a rewarding feeling. And that's very important as a detective and investigator in any unit, is helping out the victim and making sure that they get their property back or get their case solved. So it really comes down to, we just need more officers, more detectives. So if you want to feel that sense of purpose and sense of just like helping out the community, I highly recommend applying for a position at APD.
Good.
For me, it's having someone have their vehicle stolen and it's uninsured. We understand that you may have a mother who's struggling, with money. She may have paid cash for that vehicle with her income tax, and now the vehicle's stolen, and now she has no way of getting it back. So that's pretty difficult when you have someone's vehicle that's stolen and they're insured, and now they're out of vehicle.
Yeah. And so let's say if somebody's vehicle is stolen, and then a week later, 2 weeks later, it's recovered. What's that process look like once a vehicle is recovered and I have the victim's information? Can you walk us through that a little bit?
So what that looks like after we recover the vehicle, patrol goes out on the vehicle, locates the vehicle, and they'll do their best. It's out of courtesy to contact the victim, and if we're not able to get a hold of the victim, then the vehicle gets impounded, and then your insurance will have to pick up from there. But a lot of times we usually can get a hold of the victim and let them know, hey, we got your car, come out and try to and recover it if it's drivable.
Okay. Yeah, because again, when I worked patrol, some of these people would be contacted at 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and typically you don't receive a response. But right. I always encourage people, hey, if you don't recognize a number, but you're being called at 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and your vehicle has been stolen, just try to answer that phone call so we can prevent it from going to impound or anything like that. Yeah. So,
well, I think more recently, probably within the last year, is when you put in a BOLO, be on the lookout for a vehicle. You put in their phone number. As of before, we didn't have that, so which that's going to help us contact the victims a lot easier now.
Oh, okay. That sounds great. Well, Detective Porter and Detective Espinosa, I want to thank you for being here. I also want to thank you for the hard work that you guys do. Just hearing the number of cases that you guys are dealing with. Again, I want to thank you for your hard work and all that you do for our community. Thank you for our listeners for joining us today. For more information about community events at the Austin Police Department, please follow us on our social media platforms. We're on Facebook, we're on X, we're on Instagram as the Austin Police Department. And again, if you take one thing away from today, take your keys out of your vehicle, take any firearms that you might have out of your vehicle, and that includes your garage door opener, but just take a more proactive approach so that we can eliminate these most of these auto thefts, and that Detective Espinosa and Detective Porter can kind of investigate those ones that they're trying to catch up on. But we hope this conversation has provided you with some resources that help everybody keep Austin safe.